The final topic I'm going to go through, power supply deficits. Again, this is a little bit under the radar, but it's extremely important that we all start to talk about it. The Northwest is facing a growing power supply deficit. The demand in this region is skyrocketing, and that's from data centers and AI, but it's also from electrifying everything, transportation, heating and cooling of buildings. All of that is being pushed onto the electric sector. At the same time, we're seeing critical baseload resources being pulled off of the system. And I've got a slide here in just a minute, but we're talking about the tried and true coal, natural gas, and increasingly the threat to the hydroelectric system that is, probably the backbone of our electric sector here in the Northwest. The only current replacement options we have for what we're losing are variable in nature. Wind and solar, realistically, that's the only toolbox we have to replace the things that we're losing. That's creating a much more volatile system, and ultimately it will result in less reliability and higher cost. We're seeing some of that already starting to play out, as I'll get to here in just a minute. This is a forecast from a well-known organization in our industry. It's known as PNUC. They're forecasting more than 30% growth in electric demand by 2033. And they stack up the resources that will be available to serve that demand against the full requirements. And you can just see there are gaps as far as the eye can see. We do not have enough power supply in the winter and summer months to be able to deal with the demand that we're likely to see. This is a quick slide that illustrates kind of how we've got here. So this is a look at our resource changes from 2018 to 2023. And essentially what we've done is we have replaced about 3,000 megawatts of coal with about 3,000 megawatts of wind and solar, which is a great thing for that environmental pillar that I talked about. It's a terrible thing for the reliability pillar. We've replaced firm baseload capacity that we call it, which is essentially the power supply is there when you need it, with non-firm near zero capacity resources, which means the supply is not there when you need it, especially in the cold winter months like we saw in the ice storm. This is already having impacts. We saw in January, we were on a knife's edge in this region when it came to being able to keep the lights on. If it was not for the hydro system operating at full bore, and if demand had been just a little bit higher, we would have been subject to some type of reliability event, likely rolling blackouts. We weren't so lucky in June 2021, which is the second headline on here during the heat dome. We did see rolling blackouts up in eastern Washington. So this is no longer a theoretical issue. This is going to have a big impact on us if we can't get our hands around it. Affordability is a topic all its own, but this push toward a new power supply system and transitioning away from these resources that we've had for so long is having a major impact. We've all talked about, or we've all seen the rate increases that are coming from the investor-owned utilities. It's almost 40% or more over the last 3 years that they've gone up. Not all of that is because of power supply, but a whole lot of that is because of the power supply situation that I've laid out here. And if you believe some of the prognosticators, we have a former BPA administrator that I've tried to highlight on here. It's a little hard to read, but what he says is the investor-owned utilities will likely need annual double-digit retail rate increases for the next 5 to 7 years. This will likely double their rates by the early 2030s. Those are the stakes we're talking about if we continue down this path. We can also look at this, and this is my closing set of slides here. We can also look at this on a state-by-state level, the affordability piece. The federal government publishes really good data about state electric rates. This is going back to start with in 2015. So in 2015, Oregon had the 9th lowest residential electric rates in the country, the 9th lowest. Fast forward to today, Oregon ranks 27th using the exact same data, 27th, and our rates are increasing at the faster than any other state than Illinois. I'll say that again. Oregon's electric rates for residential customers are increasing faster than any state other than Illinois. Again, not all of that is power supply, but much of that is driven by this power supply situation. So what can we do to mitigate this? My plea again for all policymakers, please keep in mind the 3 pillars: affordability, reliability, environmental responsibility. Any single-minded focus on one of them puts the others at risk. And I will just put my cards on the table and say for decades now, Oregon has had a near singular focus on environmental policy, and we're starting to see the impacts of that. Reliability is down. Affordability is down. It's not an accident. Maintaining baseload resources that generate on demand is critical. That includes very much the hydro system above all else. Nuclear, we've talked about today, is got to have a role in the future here. And natural gas is key as a bridge resource until we get something better. We also need to keep the focus on commercially available technologies. Too often we talk about what might come down the road or what we might be able to develop in the future. We really need to be practical about this and make sure that we're only accounting for things that we can actually use in the current state of affairs. That's what I have today. Thank you very much for your time.
Questions from the committee? Senator Gorsuch.
There's a lot of questions.
Well, let's do one then.
Okay, let's do that. Well, I think you've laid out a really important picture here. And I think that people that live in the Pacific Northwest are still not aware of just how challenging the electrical system has gotten. And so one of the things that I wonder is how much BPA is working with utilities like your own to work on some of these long-term things.
Yeah, I think they're trying. They have for a long time not been in the mode of trying to assist with resource development. Mm-hmm. I think they're really focused on it now, and we're hoping that it will provide benefit down the road. But the track record is not good. If you look at the scale of the problem we have, how much resource we need to build in the next couple of decades versus what we've done in the last decade, we have a real problem if we don't change some things. So I'm hopeful. I know they're focused on it, but the history does not give you a lot of comfort.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.